Well, after 15 years at the top, Alyssa Healy has decided to call time on her international career. A multiple World Cup and Ashes winner, a leader, part of one of the most successful teams in Australian sport, and part of an incredible generation of cricketers, a true game changer for women's cricket. And I'm now delighted to say that she joins us to reflect on that incredible career. Alyssa, after announcing your retirement, how are you feeling about things and the response to it as well?
Look, the decision itself sits very comfortably with me. I think I'd always been told throughout my life when you'll wake up one day and you'll know it's the right time, and I felt like I knew it was the right time when that decision was made. But probably the reaction to it has been quite overwhelming, something I didn't quite anticipate probably more than anything else, but it's probably just reinforced to me what the last sort of 15, 16 years at the top levels really meant to me.
What is the thing that you're most proud of?
I think like just being a part of something bigger than the game and seeing the shift in, I guess, what women's sport is going through, not just here in this country, but around the world, and the role that cricket has played in that. And I guess as us as, you know, players on the field showcasing what we can do have been a really small part of that as well. So that probably makes me more proud than all those titles, the trophies, the medals and stuff are all really amazing and great. You know, you put a lot of hard work into what you do and get that reward's great. But I guess to see the sport grow, change so dramatically over that short space of time, but also knowing how much further it has to go, to have felt like you've played a small part in that, it makes me really proud.
Well, you've played a massive part in that. Let's go back to the start. Cricket, always part of the genes. Did you always dream of playing for Australia?
Yes and no. I didn't necessarily think I was going to play cricket. I thought I loved sport. I was an outdoorsy kid in Australia. I didn't want to be in the classroom. I just wanted to be out playing sport. So I literally played everything under the sun. Probably dreamt more. I thought maybe at a time I might play hockey instead, but fortunately cricket was always a constant in the background. It seemed to be the sport I was playing every summer. I'd go and train at. So I guess fate sort of played a role in that. But I guess once I started playing and starting getting picked in rep teams and recognised that, you know, I had a little something, maybe I could go on to play for Australia one day. And I guess to have done that was a huge achievement. But then to maintain that and play for as long as I have has really surprised me, probably more than anything else.
Your longevity speaks for itself, but you do, I mean, it's well documented, you come from a strong cricketing family background. Do you think that was an advantage for you growing up, or was there added pressure with that?
I get asked this question a lot, and I probably address it with humour like I do most things in my life, but I often joke that, you know, maybe the selectors wouldn't have turned around if my last name wasn't Healy, and I was a young wicketkeeper behind the stumps. Maybe they would have walked on to the next game and see what that other wicketkeeper could do. But I think from an identity piece, it probably didn't help. I mean, I was constantly being compared to Uncle Ian a lot. We played very, very different formats of the game. We played in different generations, and that was kind of a weird thing for a young girl growing up to sort of be compared to a lot. But in saying that, I mean, looking back on it and probably reflecting on it now, towards the back end, how amazing that, you know, it ended up being cricket. I had wicket-keeping gloves on and I had the last name Healy on my back. I mean, that's a pretty amazing thing that our family can celebrate in, you know, with generations moving forward as well.
Who would you say were your biggest influences growing up?
Look, I think Mum and Dad probably played a key role in everything that I did, in like putting aside their lives to make sure that, you know, I was being driven everywhere, playing all this sport, doing amazing things, going to school every day, being well fed, you know, living in a nice place, and probably made a lot of sacrifices along the way. So they played a key role in that. But then I think when it came to cricket, looking back on it, someone like Chris Matthews was probably a really influential person early on. And the more that I reflect on it, it was those moments that made me fall in love with the game and made me want to do it. And I distinctly remember going down to Drummoyne Oval as a 12-year-old. I don't think Mum and Dad quite knew what to do with me. I've had some talent, but I didn't really have, you know, anyone to coach me. And Dad had heard about or knew of Christina Matthews, who was down at the Balmain Cricket Club it was at the time, and said, "Oh, I've got someone, would you mind just seeing if she's any good?" I think is what they said to Chris. And she put me through the most rigorous wicket-keeping session I've ever been through in my whole cricketing career as a 12-year-old. I think I almost passed out. And I loved every minute of it. I wanted to come back the next week, and all of a sudden I was into the club and I was, standing in the slips cordon with, at the time, the New South Wales Breakers and half of the Australian team. So those sort of memories, I think, made me initially fall in love with the game, and is probably why I'm still going at the age I am, because, I just loved it from the get-go.
Yeah, a lot of great female role models around you, but you've also talked to me about the fact that, you're always around the Australian men's cricket team as well with Uncle Ian. So what were those early memories like?
Yeah, our careers obviously didn't really cross paths at any point in time, but I sort of started playing the game when I was about 6 or 7, and that was right at the back end of his career, and I probably never appreciated what he was doing at the time, probably until later in my career, that I was like, wow, he was really good, and he did this for a long period of time, keeping to some amazing Australian and worldwide greats of the game. But yeah, I just remember being like a kid in a candy store at times. I can't remember whose 40th it was. I think it might have been Mark Taylor's. And obviously, we all know how people celebrate 40th, but I was a youngster and come out the next day at breakfast and they're all there, not in a great space. But here I am talking to these people that I've idolised, I'd watched on the TV. I was hanging over the fence yelling for signatures when I was a kid. So to have that exposure at a young age, and they were all so lovely to me, and I guess really approachable, and that probably once again made me go, oh, this is really cool, this is amazing. And it's those sort of interactions that I think probably shaped me as a cricketer as well, because you never really know what that interaction might do to a young girl. I remember one player said no for an autograph, and I automatically thought, oh, well, that's no good, I didn't like them. So imagine what that feels like for another young person when I'm doing what I'm doing. So, but yeah, that whole, I guess, life outside with, Uncle Ian doing what he was doing and me sort of idolising someone like Ricky Ponting was just like a really weird, moment for our family. It's cool though.
You've often talked about the fact that you've been blessed with perspective as well, obviously around so many Australian greats growing up. But you have spoken about the fact that you lost your sister quite young, and that had a huge impact on you. How did that shape your perspective on the sport going forwards?
Oh, it's shaped who I am as a person and who I was when I was growing up. To deal with such a significant loss at a young age, I'm still coping with these days. Our family was changed then and there in that moment. Ironically, that day that we switched off the machines, I made 100 at Drummoyne Oval. On the very same day, we went to the hospital straight after and turned off the life support. So for me, straight away, it was like, well, cricket is fun. Cricket is enjoyable. This is what I was doing. I was playing with her friends at the time. I was playing up in the seniors in our school, and automatically that said to me that this isn't real life. This is real life. I mean, when you have to go and my family had to make a decision like that, it automatically in the back of my head said that cricket isn't everything. Yes, you're good at it. Yes, you enjoy it. But, there's a whole life outside of the game. And I think that perspective has been a real blessing at times. I mean, yes, cricket means a lot to me, and make decisions day in, day out to be better and to be really good at the game that I love. But there's also a lot of things outside the game that, give me great joy, and I want to, spend a lot of time with and put some time and effort into that, because they're just as important to me. So, yeah, whilst it's something that you don't wish upon anyone to have to go through, I guess to be able to get some perspective and, I guess, a sense of purpose outside of that, I'm really grateful for.
You're having to face such a difficult situation at such a young age, and the character that you showed then, do you think that helped you when it got tough at times in your career?
Well, I think so. I think it's something that I went through when I was 12, and you're not really developed, I guess, emotionally yet, or you're still working out, who you are as a person and what that looks like moving forward. But yeah, it was just a really weird, awful time in your life. But then I found this great joy in playing cricket and playing team sport and being a part of a different sort of family, I feel like. So, I still had to go out there, each and every week and try and make runs and try and stand behind the stumps with a smile on my face and pretend like everything was, glowing in my life, when it's not necessarily behind closed doors. And everybody goes through those sort of similar struggles right throughout their life. So I'm not on my own there. But Yeah, I think that definitely helped me from a mental resilience piece. I mean, yeah, whether it was an advantage, maybe, and I never wanted to use it as an excuse either, as an excuse as to, you know, why I'd turn up grumpy, why I'd play poorly around that time of year or anything like that. I'd just see it as a, no, that was a moment you've gone through, you've been through that, you're still going through it, but, you know, there's bigger things in life, and cricket was just an avenue to go and enjoy and express myself.
Well, I'm sure she'd be incredibly proud of everything that you've gone on to achieve and the person that you are. Those early days, you're spending a lot of time playing for New South Wales. You were in the team quite early. You were part of a very successful team as well. WNCL, 11 titles, 10 in a row. How did that environment shape you as well? Being part of, I guess, such a competitive atmosphere, but also knowing that you could go on and be as successful as you were.
It taught me really early on that I'm a sore loser, because I never understood losing, which I think, when I look back on it, was both a blessing and a curse. I mean, I think to be able to come into a side that was so successful, but also for a reason. They were successful because they worked really hard. We had a great support base we were well invested in at the time. Cricket New South Wales at the time were well ahead and driving the women's game forward. So I think there's no secret as to why that Breakers team were as good as what they were. But to come in and experience winning so early was hugely, you know, advantageous, I think, to my career. You saw what they were doing, and you saw how amazing winning was, and you wanted that success in everything that you did. And I guess it was the same going into the Aussie environment. Stepped in for my first World Cup and we lift the trophy. I mean, that's not normal. And I get reminded of that at home, that Mitch is like, you're allowed to lose. Like, you have to lose. You can't win everything. And I'm like, why not? Like, why can't we win everything? And I think that's always the approach that we've taken, because you can win everything. You can work really hard and get the result that you desire. So, yeah, it 100% made me a sore loser, but I refuse to apologise for that until I finish playing elite sport, because I think that it creates a successful environment in a way, if you harness it properly. So I think just learning that so young and experiencing that, you just want to taste for it even more, and I think that drives you to be better every day. So I've been really lucky. And you have been part of one of the most successful Australian sporting teams. That must have been an incredibly proud moment for you to have gone on that journey with so many incredible names in Australian sport. When you reflect on that time, you know, there was a record-breaking run with the one-day internationals as well. You know, how did you create that culture? And I imagine, just on the back of what you said there, it was just a continuation of what you were doing at domestic level. Yeah, I think so. I think I've been so lucky to have played with and against as well some real generational players that will go down as some of the greatest, you know, female cricketers that we'll ever see. I don't know what the next generation are going to do and the generation after that, but to have played alongside the people I have, to learn from them as well. They're very different to me personality-wise, but also like so driven in what they want to achieve and who they want to be. And I think that's amazing for me. Someone like me is, you know, as laid back and sort of just there for the enjoyment, to learn from these amazing people how to get myself better was so cool. But yeah, I think a culture of winning is hard to create, but also hard to harness, I think, more so than anything else. I mean, and to maintain that level is so difficult. I distinctly remember after the 2022-23, the ODI World Cup, I sat down, I'm sitting with Meg, Motti, Rachel Haynes, and I just remember all three of them going, well, what's next? Like, we've literally just ticked off our goal. Now what do we do? Like, we can go out there and do it all again and win a World Cup, but we've already achieved that. Like, what's next? And I think to be able to maintain that for as long of a period as what we have has been somewhat remarkable, that you've just got this group of people that are driven to succeed and want to get better. Yes, win trophies at the end of it, but drive themselves to be better in the team, I think it has been really incredible. And I've learned a lot about what that looks like from a leadership perspective and what sort of role you need to play in making that happen and sort of keeping the egos in check at the same time in a team sport is a really tricky thing. But I think when you create an environment where people feel valued, they feel heard, they feel safe and comfortable, you can do some amazing things, and I've been a part of that, which is cool.
You obviously took over as a captain after the Meg Lanning era, so was there pressure attached to that? How did you manage it? Obviously very different characters in the way you try and approach it as well.
Oh, it was so hard. So tricky to step into those shoes because in my mind, she's one of the greatest captains that I've played under, just from a perspective of if we were ever in trouble, Meg Lanning's walking out to the crease, you feel like you're in safe hands and she was going to get us over the line, or, you know, we're in strife in the field. She might make a tactical decision or take a catch or whatever it might be. It was like Meg that really drove that, and that's never really been the way that I've played my cricket or the way that I've led either in the past. It's more about leading from behind and sort of encouraging people to feel like they can do that role. Of course, I would like to do that as well as captain, but I mean, when you've got 10 other people in the team that feel like they can play that role as well, like how amazing is that? So that was a really interesting changeover period in that I feel like I lost myself a little bit along the way because I was trying to be somebody more than what I was, and probably changed personality a little bit, which I found didn't work. And I think people were questioning, you know, what was going on, but I was trying so hard to be perfect in a role that you just can't be perfect at. All I can really do is be myself and lead the way that I feel most comfortable and I feel will work for that environment. So it was probably after the Ashes, which we won. Technically, we drew it at the end. We retained the Ashes, that I kind of reflected and thought, that's not me. That's not the leader that I want to be. I need to shift things moving forward if we want to be the best team in the world and we want to achieve great things. That's not the captain that they need. They need Midge. They need the player that's always been there and been a certain way, and just that's an enhanced thing. So yeah, it was really tricky, but at the same time, I feel lucky to have done it at the age I have, that I've been able to learn a real amount about myself, but also about teams and other people and the amazing life skills that you can take moving forward. So I'm really lucky.
Who would you say that you learnt the most from about leadership?
Oddly myself, like that sounds really probably a bit weird, but I always felt like I looked up to a lot of different leaders. You know, I mean, Chris Matthews was one, and you've got the likes of Belinda Clark, and then I had Meg Lanning, Rachel Haynes, Alex Blackwell, all these names, Lisa Sthalekar, all these names that everybody, you know, knows in women's cricket and sport. But I always looked at them and I was like, I'm not like any of them, which I always found quite a challenging thing. Like when you look at the partnership that Meg and Rach had, they're very different personalities to me, but we're able to work so brilliantly together to lead a side in one direction. I was like, well, how does that look and feel for me? But what elements of their leadership do I love, and how can I incorporate that into, you know, the type of leader that I want to be? So that was kind of the way I looked at it. So all those people have played a huge role in, probably unbeknownst to them, but I watch a lot. I watch, listen and learn a lot, and I think they've all played a little bit of a role in shaping me as a leader. And I don't profess to have everything right, everything perfect. I'm still learning about myself as a human being as well. So, but they've all sort of enabled me to learn a bit more about myself, which is cool.
I know you and Mitch don't really talk a lot of cricket at home, but I know that you're a cricket badger. How much do you think that has helped you, you know, tactically when you're out there on the field?
Oh, heaps. But I've also played a lot of cricket, and I think that's where it's helped me. I played a lot of different cricket growing up, played with the boys, played with the girls, played, you know, rep cricket, and then I was playing international cricket so early on, and I love the game so much that you're right, I watch it, but I also learn from it while I'm watching it. I learn about, you know, the decisions that people are making, how they're playing, style of play, those sorts of things I like to pick up on. So I think that's kind of maybe whether or not that's helped me in my tactical ability, I hope. But I think naturally being a wicketkeeper and being so close to the action a lot of the time, naturally you have a feel of where the game is, and I think that's probably where my decision-making comes from more so than a plan. A plan is, you know, going into the game, I'm going to bowl these 6 bowlers in the first 20 overs and this is how it's going to look. It's actually a bit more unplanned for me. It's, okay, this is where the game's at. This is where I feel like I need to make a change here. And I've really rolled with that, and I feel like having people in your squad that can do those roles is really important, but also just sort of encourage them to feel like they can achieve that and do that role is part of my job. So, yeah, in answer to your question, I think watching a lot of cricket has helped, but also getting a feel for where the game's at, I think, is more important.
You talked about your keeping there, and it's a well-known fact that you're very chirpy behind the stumps. You were not great to play against.
It's all a myth.
Following the Healy tradition. Did you feel like you had to play up to that, or did that just come naturally to you?
No, I think... well, actually, I always say, no, that was my personality, and that's probably what came out more than anything else. But no, probably growing up in the era I did, I watched a lot of how the Australians were, and also what a wicketkeeper I felt like was supposed to be like, supposed to act like. So that probably played a little bit of a role in that. But I'm also one of the most competitive human beings on the planet. So unfortunately, when I step out over that line, I want to win, and playing for Australia was the pinnacle of that, and being, you know, England in particular was, you know, that's what we wanted to do. As a young Aussie growing up, we wanted to beat the Poms in everything that we did. So there's probably a little bit of an element of white line fever in it. I used to always say, you know, come and have a beer with me after and you might actually like me, because I don't think many people did early on. But I feel like that was just part of the role. I mean, anything you can do to drag your team over the line, whether it be just get somebody off their game for half a millisecond, you know, that gets us in a good position. So, I played my role, I think.
Yeah. Test match knock as well with 2 fractured fingers. That's proper Australian grit right there.
I'll be honest with you, I've never copped more grief in my life walking out to bat, because there was... we just kept for like 100. I kept for 100 overs. The ball was not carrying on day one, so I'm up to the stumps for 85 overs or something ridiculous. And I was down to bat at 5, I think, in the Test match. I ended up coming out at 8 because I went out to warm up the next day and I couldn't even hold the bat because I had one on each hand that was broken. I couldn't even hold the cricket bat. I was like basically in tears in the change room, going, "What do I do?" Fortunately, I turned to Annabelle Sutherland and I was like, "Do you want to bat 5 today?" And she was like, "Yes, please." Went out and made 100. I walked out at 8 and I've never copped more of a spray in my life from an English slips cordon than I did that day. But it's all fun and games. And funnily enough, I actually showed them the photos of my fingers at the end of the Test match and was like, "Well, this is what you're sledging me about. How do you feel about that right now?" And they felt a little bit bad, which all made it worth it.
They kind of felt too bad. You sledged them a few times in the past. So.
To be fair, they didn't know about it at the time. They thought I just had too much lunch, which I took personally. And I said, yes, I did have a nice lunch, but here I am to do a job. Let's get amongst it.
What advice would you give to a young girl growing up in the sport?
Look, enjoy it. I'm a firm believer that you can't just play one sport forever as well. I think if you're a young girl now and you're trying to pick a sport at 12 or 13, go and try something else. Go and do something else. Test yourself, you know, find out who you are as an athlete before you nail down one sport. But I think cricket right now is so promising for a young girl for an opportunity. If you don't want to be an elite athlete, that's okay too. There's still plenty of opportunity to play cricket, but just go out there and enjoy it. Be the best player you possibly can, but ultimately you've got to enjoy it, because if you want to have a 25-year-long career at the top level and you're not enjoying yourself, you're not going to last. So enjoy it, find your love of the game, and then go for it.
Did you enjoy it?
Loved it. Absolutely loved it. I can tell you that. And there's been probably a few people who'll end up watching this that'll laugh and say, "No, you didn't," and point the finger and say, "I can tell you exactly when you didn't love it." And that's true. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a job, and we're out there to be professional and do what we do. And not everybody loves their job day in, day out. But I can genuinely say that looking back on it, I can only really remember the good times, which I think is a sign of a really healthy, enjoyable career.
How would you like Alyssa Healy to be remembered in cricket?
Oh, hopefully well. I'm sure there's going to be some shocking stories of me flowing around once I do hang up the boots. But all I ever thought about when I was sort of midway through my career is I just want to be the teammate that everyone wants to play with. I didn't necessarily know that I was going to be captain, so I mean, at the end of that, I'd love to be the captain that everyone wanted to play for. But if that hasn't happened, that's completely fine. But I just wanted to be the teammate that everyone enjoyed playing with, felt supported, felt loved, and felt important around. And hopefully I've done that and created some amazing relationships along the way that will last the test of time.
Well, mate, look, it's been an incredible career. You should be so, so proud. One of the most influential players that the game has ever seen. The way you've inspired young girls and boys around the world through the way you've played the game, that competitive spirit, the perspective you've shown. It's been a real treat to watch. Not so great to play against, but no, just to watch your journey unfold, it's been a real privilege. So you should be so, so proud of everything you've done and look forward to what's next.
Thank you very much.